Hi guys, welcome to the latest podcast of YarninBlak. Today I've got a great guest on, Maddy. I'll introduce you to Maddy in a second. But first I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm calling you in from. I'm here in Bowen, Q, on the land of the Wurundjeri people, and I'd like to pay respect to their elders past and present. And I'd like to acknowledge any young people that are coming through who are going to be our future leaders and warriors. Which means that I need to introduce you to one of our future warriors coming through, and that is Maddy. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm glad you could join us.
I'm glad I can be here.
Thank you. So for people that don't know who are you, where you're from?
All right, I am Maddy. I have a bit of a weird backstory in terms of where I'm from.
Yep.
So I was born in Cairns. I stayed there until I was 5, but I moved over to Perth. I was there until I was 18, and now I'm in Melbourne studying. But my parents are from Sydney, and all our family's in Sydney, so we spent a lot of time going back there. But then the real good stuff, where my mob's from, that's Queensland again. So Birrigubba country near the Whitsundays, and Merriam-Mer country near or in the Torres Strait Islands.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when people do say are you Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, you can tick both boxes.
Mouthful. It's a mouthful. I'm always saying Indigenous, ATSI, anything to keep it down, honestly.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Now, I want to ask you, what are you currently doing at the moment?
So I moved over to Melbourne. Melbourne Uni has some pretty incredible opportunities. What I'm doing now is a Bachelor of Science. I don't know what I want to major in, as a lot of my friends, are in similar places. But I think I'd like to go off and do postgrad in medicine. So that's kind of my plan. Yeah. And
we need more First Nations doctors.
100%. It's so important. And with me, I think what I really want to do is take the medicine on country and be able to help people out there, because as much as I love helping people, I think being stuck in a hospital is not where I want to be.
Yeah, I think it's really great because we don't have many First Nations doctors, and we don't have many First Nation doctors working in remote areas either. They seem to come to the city and study and then stay in the city. Very few actually go back home, so that's great.
I actually have an auntie, and she works in healthcare in an ACHO. An AHC.
Yeah, an HO.
Yeah, whatever it is. And she is in contact with lots of Indigenous doctors. So it's comforting to see that, as much as we see what you're talking about, where they stay in the metro areas. I mean, living rurally is tough. My mum was a teacher, and she lived in Arnhem Land in Maningrida for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Talked to her about that and how isolated she was, and so I know it's hard, but it brings me joy. It fuels my fire, so I know that's what I want to do. Yeah.
So what year are you in now?
I am in literally the first year. I'm a fresher. Yeah.
Yes. So you left Perth to come to Melbourne the beginning of this year?
Yes.
Yeah. What was it like when you arrived in Melbourne? Have you been to Melbourne before? And what's the culture difference?
Yeah, I've been to Melbourne as a baby. Don't remember that. But the last 2 times I've come to Melbourne, they've been on camps, sponsored camps. So luckily for me, I didn't have to pay for any of them. And it was kind of introducing me to the uni life and what life might be in Melbourne. And we actually had a camp, the Poly Farmer group, come in from, all around Australia yesterday to have dinner at a college with us. And that was, I kind of saw myself, because I literally had their uniform in my closet, the one that they were wearing. I was wearing that last year. So it was a bit of a full circle moment. But, I was telling them, I never thought it was possible to move to Melbourne, but the amount of support you get over here, I feel so much more comfortable being Indigenous as well. I don't know if you've ever been to Perth, but it really is like a shift in culture. I don't know how to explain it. But in terms of Melbourne's just buzzy. Everything's happening. You got coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker, and you got uni. Love uni much more than high school.
Yeah. Because you're on campus too, because you're at Trinity College, and people who don't know Trinity College, it is like a Harry Potter kind of feel, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, it was incredible to see all the kids when they came into the dining hall and they were doing tours and they were like, oh, this is not so bad. Like I could live like Harry Potter if I wanted to, if I work hard enough in year 12. Yeah, it was beautiful to see.
Yeah. I've had a couple of experiences being at the high
Mm.
table at dinner,
Mm.
including the one a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it is quite a Harry Potter style
Yeah.
setup. They've got the big rows and there's
Yeah.
like hundreds of students
Yeah. And the
and
robes.
the robes and the traditional, you all stand up while the
Mm.
warden walks in with
Mhm.
I was going to say the parade, the procession,
Yeah.
and everyone sits down. You have a bit of the speeches of what's actually happening. So it is quite traditional, but it looks like it's fun as well.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because when you explain what goes on at Trinity to another person, it sounds like a cult. Like, "Wait, hold on. You stand up and you have all these robes 4 days a week or 4 nights a week. And it was funny to see that kind of reflected in the kids' faces last night. And when they started sitting down, and I was like, oh no, don't sit down yet. Like we got to wait for people to walk past. But
Yeah,
yeah. When
that
you were
sounds
on
like
my
fun.
table, that's when I met you.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that? Yeah.
And I loved it in terms of the tradition, but it's not a scary kind of thing, and it is modernized by the young people that actually get up and do the talking within it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some nights the staff serve you guys food.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, there's a couple of nights where the staff, when I went there one time, the staff was serving the students.
Oh,
Yeah,
what a great tradition. I think it's good that they keep the things that are working and then they're adding in things like the students can get up and speak and voice their opinions or
yeah,
like let us know about what's happening. Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. Now let's go back to Perth because you did all your study in Perth.
Mhm.
Yeah, go back to when you're in primary school. How much
Mhm.
Aboriginal studies did you learn at school?
I remember learning about colonization. It was in civics and citizenship class, mouthful, in year
Yeah,
3. Um, and I think we might have touched on how Indigenous people were there. They were already on the land. But from there, I don't remember anything about learning about Indigenous history. I think it was only in maybe year 11 or year 10 that we
yeah,
touched on it again in HAS. And it's like subject dependent. Like this is civics and citizenship and then HAS. Like none of my other subjects talked about that. I understand maths, but what about science? Like I actually work at MySEP, so Melbourne Indigenous STEM program,
yeah,
and we go to schools to talk about Indigenous STEM knowledge. And that's what I would have really benefited from because I
yeah,
also didn't like know that I was Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander until I was in year 5 and not at fault of my parents.
yeah,
It's just how it happened. And there was, I think I remember in year 1, we were doing our school show or our class show for like the assembly,
yeah,
and we had the rainbow serpent in the show.
yeah.
And there was 5 of us, but the teacher decided that she had to cut it down to just 1. And I got picked and I was thrilled back then. But looking back, I kind of realized that maybe it was just because I was marked as Indigenous on
Yes,
my role. And
yeah,
that's how it should have been. The teacher did it right. But yeah, it's funny that kind of these things that I haven't picked up
yeah.
and like that.
What makes you feel really proud to be an Aboriginal person?
Ooh, that's a really good question because I was like, I didn't grow up around any Indigenous people. Well, that's not true. Mum worked in an Indigenous community and she also worked with Indigenous artists. So I was up there when I was very young. But other than that, in Perth, I didn't have any Indigenous friends. I didn't know anyone who was Indigenous. And what kind of brought me out of that and helped my understanding of who I was and our culture was the Polly Farmer Foundation.
Yeah,
So the ones that the kids had come on the camp through. So they had this program called Follow the Dream, incredible program, and it goes from year 7 until year 12. And I was offered to be a part of it in year 7, but I was like, no, it's going to be a joke, like all the other programs were.
Yeah.
But I was contacted again in year 11, so this is 4 years after. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
4 years after, and like I had a chat with the leader, Tina Deegan, and she made me realize how incredible it was and how much I'd be missing out. And that was how I got over to Melbourne. I
Yeah.
found out about Melbourne and the scholarships through Tina.
Yeah.
And we had camps. And for me, that was the most important thing, the camps, I think, because it gave me someone to look up to. It wasn't, as much as I respect and value the contributions made by like Kathy Freeman or Eddie Marbo or all of the other Indigenous icons, there wasn't anyone my age.
Yeah.
There wasn't anyone like a teenager that I could look up to. And so going on those camps with the other Indigenous kids, it like completely changed my perspective. And like I really remember the moment where all the boys were dancing and we had these little kids who were also camping come up, and one of the mums came up and said, like, this is amazing. Like, my kids are Indigenous, but like I don't know how to teach them because it's their dad who's Indigenous. And just seeing you guys and the boys perform like the traditional dances was just like incredible for them, like, 3-year-olds to grow up and see that. And like I really wish I had like discovered that earlier. But what a blessing that I got to discover in year 11. No,
That's
not
cool.
at all.
Yeah. Do you now, as a young Aboriginal woman, do you look back and go, regret that you didn't actually know a lot, or you're actually going, I'm glad that I have learned it now?
Well, both. Like,
Okay,
I'm
both?
so glad that I've learnt it now, and I also wish I had learnt it earlier. I guess it is weird because there was this disconnect where we would spend, because Mum would bring us over to Mornington Island.
Yeah.
She would bring us over there to work with the artists when we were really young, and that was well and true. That was, we would be around them, but then it also didn't occur to me that I was Indigenous.
Yeah.
And we would come back home, and I would, I was too young as well. Like I just wasn't comprehending it. And then from then on, it was kind of like this gap where I didn't have any contact with any Indigenous person except for my sister and my father. But they were just as they didn't know anything, just like myself. So yeah, it was a bit interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What makes you feel culturally safe about like going to uni every day, or even if you went to like the health service or something, you walk into an organization, what makes you feel culturally safe?
Oh, it's such a big question. Like, I think seeing another Indigenous person,
Yeah.
or it is such a big question. I'm trying to think, because when I do work, when I go to these high schools and primary schools, usually it's not the kids who you're worried about when, like, to feel culturally safe. Usually it's actually the teachers, and sometimes they're bordering on the line where you're like, do you hate us or are you with us? Like, we just don't know. And like all these random comments that come out of nowhere, and you kind of wonder if it was said with good intention or just completely blind to what it actually means.
So do you hear those things like, wow, you're pretty for an Aboriginal person, or, oh, you're educated, you finished year 12. That's unusual for like those kind of statements?
I haven't heard that before, but I think me growing up, not knowing that not being connected to my Indigenous heritage, it also meant that I didn't identify as Indigenous.
Yeah.
So no one knew as well.
Yeah.
I think, it's hard to talk about that because I would expect that if I had come out and said that I was Indigenous, then a lot more people might have made those comments.
Yeah.
But then that's the difference between Perth and Melbourne again. I feel like Melbourne is so much more supportive of mob.
Yeah.
And Perth, there was nothing. Oh, I did have one like racist incident in school, but anything that I heard, it was kind of peripheral. Like no one would say it to my face.
Okay.
It would just be things that people would say because they didn't know that I was Aboriginal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about in general, Aboriginal people are all alcoholics, or Aboriginal people, like that broader statements.
Well, I can tell you what happened at school. It was like year 12. It was the last, like literally the last week, the dress up week before
Yeah.
exams. And this boy came who was I was actually friends with, like really close friends. And he came dressed as Centrelink. And he had a tattered shirt, ripped, dirty jeans, and he had printed off Aboriginal flags and he was
Ah,
handing them out. And like that was really hard for me to see because he didn't know that I was Indigenous. And that was really a shock to the system. Like in that instant I couldn't speak.
yeah.
And I told him as I was walking away, I said, do you know I'm Aboriginal? And he was like, oh, no, I didn't know that. And you never would have expected it from him because I thought he was actually a really beautiful boy, like a really
Yeah.
nice person. And so it was a shock.
I think sometimes as you get older, I know for me, I'm surprised at what some of my friends
Yeah.
actually really think or really believe.
Yeah.
And it's not until they do something like that you go,
Wait a
holy,
second. Yeah.
where did that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really weird because it's the people that you think you can trust that just completely change and you don't know what's happened.
Yeah.
But like, Tina Deegan, who spearheaded Follow the Dream from where
Yeah.
I was, she was like a British woman. She was white, and she was the most supportive person ever. Like I thought she was Aboriginal for the longest time because she was just such an incredible like role model, and she
Yeah.
has fostered many of Indigenous kids who I'm all friends with.
Yeah.
And she was just like absolutely accepted into the community, like as one of us.
Yeah.
And that was a similar case with my mum. She worked before I was born, when she worked in Manningrida in Arnhem Land, she got her Aboriginal family, and so she was called sister by them and like auntie. Yeah, so its support comes from many different places, not just Indigenous people.
Yeah.
Even though Indigenous people see with the same perspective and like understanding, like you just have that innate understanding of each other.
Yeah. And that's what true allyship means, really,
Oh
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. If a young Aboriginal person came to you and said, look, I've just found out that I'm Aboriginal and I want to know more, what would you suggest them to do?
Ooh. Well, I would be incredibly proud that they had come to me. What would I suggest they do? I would say just be with other Indigenous people, because that's how I learnt. As much as I'd like to say that I learnt from, like studying, from like school, from the limited amount that I learnt, or, watching videos, I feel like that would be really poor advice. And my, the advice that I would give them would definitely be to just be with us, because that's how you learn what it is to be an Indigenous person. And you can kind of slot in there.
And I think it's really important. I know you'd agree with this, that you're on a learning journey, but most Aboriginal people are on a learning journey about finding out about culture because you can't know everything Aboriginal. Like,
No, well, it got taken from us, yeah.
yeah, I'm turning 50 for something, and 55 this year, but I have to admit to people I still don't know everything, if that makes sense. Like I'm pretty knowledgeable, I think, but I'm still always learning. Every Aboriginal person I ever talk to has a different experience, has a different story, and I respect that story because everyone at different places of knowing about their Aboriginality.
Yeah, absolutely. And we say when we go out to schools with MySep, with where I work, we say that even though we're sharing Indigenous knowledge, it's not necessarily ours because it's come from different mobs around Australia. And I think that is a thing where all the information kind of gets mixed up because we don't have any, well, especially for me, like my mob is so small that I have my family and that's the only people I know from them. The only information I do know about that place I get from them.
Yeah.
And so we really strongly rely on other mobs and learn from them and their culture, like all the individual cultures. So it has changed over time,
Yeah.
you know.
Do you have a personal connection to the homelands where you originate from?
Yeah, I went back in year 11 actually.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like every Indigenous family is always going to be pretty big, but my dad has like 60 cousins, 57 cousins.
Whoa.
And we all were kind of like, yeah, we're doing a gathering on the family Facebook group chat, which doesn't happen, you know, once in a blue moon, of course. But we were like, yeah, we have to do it. And so we flew into Bowen, we flew into somewhere around there, and we traveled over to Bowen in a car, and that's where we did the family gathering where there was 50 odd people. So I have been to my country, and it was weird because like I felt better. Like, I don't know, I felt so calm. And that was during, you know, test time, even though it's year 11, that was during assessment time, and I was pretty stressed on the plane over. But when I stepped foot in there, on the country, I felt better. And it's also, my dad has always been like, his version of culture is just being around his family.
Yeah.
And the people, like that's what his version of culture is. I haven't been to the Torres Strait Islands, and neither has my dad or my grandma, but it's really hard to get out there. It's super expensive, and you have to get all this permission, and it's a nightmare, really. But
I've been to Thursday Island before, and a couple of the islands up there, and it is a bit of a journey up there. Like I had to fly from Melbourne to Cairns, Cairns to Horn Island, another plane from Cairns to Horn Island, took the bus to the ferry, and the ferry took me over to Thursday
and then
Island.
you get on a boat to go around. It's a nightmare.
It was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense when you look at prices of stuff, you know, like in some of those remote areas that the prices of food and petrol are so high, but it's about getting it there.
And it's for good reason, because you don't want it to turn into a tourist hotspot. You don't want to take away from the land that Indigenous people have. Like, you know, like Noosa has kind of turned into a tourism hotspot, and Rottnest Island in Western Australia, which carries some pretty dark connections for us.
History is not great, Rottnest Island.
No, it's a nightmare. And it's like, it's really hard to hear people say, oh yeah, I'm going over to Rottnest Island on the weekend, and you kind of know in your mind that they don't know what happened. And it's like, that's another thing, like this is friends who would say that, and it was pretty common. Like, of course it was common. Rottnest is beautiful, but my parents, when we went once, my parents took me to the museum, I think, and that taught me about the history. So my parents have always been onto it. But I don't think other people are aware at all.
So in Melbourne right now, where you are, what do you love doing? What do you love about Melbourne?
I'm loving uni, honestly. So much better than high school. If there's anyone in high school listening, like, get through high school and uni is fabulous. I just think with being able to choose subjects, it makes your life so much easier. And even outside of uni, I like being busy. So I try and book myself up with as many things as possible. But I just like the buzz of the city. I have a job. You know, I'm on some committees. I'm always helping Indigenous people who come down here, just for love of the game, you know, because it's what I love to do. Melbourne's so different. And as I said, my parents are from Sydney, so we're always going over to Sydney to see family, and down south and up north to see family. But Melbourne just has a special atmosphere around it.
I came to Melbourne like 35 years ago, and I just came down for a holiday, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with and I was in Brunswick, so very close to Melbourne Uni, and just the whole city feel was so different than Sydney. It wasn't as busy as Sydney. And the coffee, well, I don't drink coffee, but I drink hot chocolate, but the hot chocolates were nice. And the trams were pretty exciting, because at the time there was no trams anywhere else in Australia, really.
I think Sydney's very condensed. Like, you always have there's activity in one area. But with Melbourne, you always have a coffee shop on a corner block, or a band that'll start playing in a house party or something. Yeah, there's always things happening. And it kind of feels like it's more spread out. There's a bit like the love goes around.
Yeah. And so and I find in the city too, everything's not one way like it is in Sydney. No. Everything's like one way. And you need to know where you're going. Otherwise you've missed the turn off. You go, well, shit, I've missed that street by about 3 streets.
Yeah. I'm never driving in Melbourne. That's one thing that Melbourne's not interested me in.
What do you think about the hook turns in the city?
I know how to do them now because my auntie came over and I had to explain what a hook turn was, and she was going, oh, I didn't know about a hook turn. I didn't know how different the traffic was. And then we had the trams. When she was dropping me home, she was like, oh, what do I do with the trams? And I was like, oh, wait behind them, I think. Not too sure. Don't ask me.
Yeah. It takes a little while to get used to the traffic. When I first moved to Melbourne, I was scared of doing hook turns because I go, how can I be facing the wrong direction?
Yeah, literally.
When the car's coming that way, they're going to crash into me.
Yeah.
But they do wait for you to turn, apparently.
But I don't know. I also find the roads pretty pretty cool because you have the bike lane, and then you have a car lane, and then the tram, car, and then bike. And you always have like a strip of greenery in the middle. And that's another thing that's really different, like with Sydney and Perth, comparing them to Melbourne. Like Melbourne has so many more trees and nature strips. It's actually pretty funny. And I see, like, I would never see this in Perth, but I see people when it's sunny out on the lawn, sitting down with friends, having a picnic, like playing basketball.
Yeah.
It's pretty surreal.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just watching the time. I know we need to wind up, but I want to ask you like a final question. And that is, what would you like people to walk away with from our yarn this afternoon?
Oh, big question. I think walk away knowing how capable Indigenous people are.
Yeah.
That's always something that I struggled with. Not having any good role models when I was growing up. And like I see myself as a role model. I see you as a role model, but for myself, for the younger children, I hope that they look up to me and think, wow, she's gotten to university and she's staying at a college in a completely different state. And that's something that I want to see more of. I want to see more Indigenous role models. And yeah, it's hard to sum up.
No, that's awesome. Hey, I want to say thank you for dropping in and being on my podcast. And guys, I wanted to say thank you to Maddy, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast. And thanks, Maddy.